Hey everyone, so I've been working in VFX and animation for the past 9 months, and since it's the end of the year, I thought it would be a fun idea to compile some of the work that I've produced over time. You probably remember around March is when quarantine came into effect, and that so happened to be right when I started here. Well, without client work to keep me busy because of COVID, I decided to dedicate time to making my own projects as a sort of training period to familiarize myself with the process of this line of work. At first, I was focused on visual effects and eventually shifted focus to 3D animation. I'll say now that what is shown in this video isn't everything I've worked on, and I have a lot of things that I am still currently working on that I don't know if I can show at this point. So the first thing I ever created since working here is an animation that I could use for my YouTube channel. It's nothing big or special, but it was a good fit for a first project in the software because it was used as an introduction to Adobe After Effects. So these are just simple drawn shapes and fonts and animating it to move the way that I want it. I haven't actually put it on any videos that I posted since, and I still plan to, but regardless, it was a good learning experience. So the next project that I put out was this one. So this video is the first video that I consider to be my very first visual effects project. And the goal was to add in effects on top of something that I filmed, and this was basically what I had in mind. So this is just me on a green screen pretending to shoot a laser gun, and I just added the laser blasts and distortion waves on top of it. There are about 8 layers of lasers, smokes, sparks, and displacement distortion in this composition. However, there is one mistake that I haven't been called out on yet, so I'm just going to out myself here. So watch right here. So I was wearing a blue shirt that day, and when cutting out a green screen, the software couldn't tell the difference between green and the saturated blue color that I was wearing that day. So now it just looks like there's a hole going straight through me. Anyway, no one called me out on that mistake, so I just wanted to do it here. So, fun fact, I guess. Alright, this is an idea that I had for a while. I wanted to make something that told a little bit more of a story than the first one, and I had actually planned for this to be a lot longer with way more content, but I realized that it was going to be way more work than I could manage at the time. So granted, it doesn't tell anyone anything, but the music at least gives the video a feeling of suspense and tension. My goal in this one was to use displacement to warp the footage that I shot, and that was shown here. Also, about halfway through producing this project, we thought it would be a fun idea to track a picture on the wall so you can actually see my logo that I talked about at the beginning of the video here. So here's another filming mistake that nobody has called me out on yet. In this shot, I'm actually wearing a different shirt than I am in this shot. It was pretty late in the day, and I ended up filming the rest from this point on the next day. And a lot of you probably already know, but I made a bloopers reel on how many shots it took to actually make the basket the right way. And if you want to see that again, you can just, I don't know, you can just go watch it. I don't know. Okay, this project came from a VFX tutorial that I saw about lightning, and I wanted to see if I could do something similar. So this is the longest thing that I've ever produced, and by far took the most time. It was also one that I didn't film myself and had to have help with, which made it a lot easier. So the goal in this one was to use color grading to make it look more cinematic and to also use some tracking. So here's an example of what the raw footage looks like versus the finished product. And the tracking is, of course, the lights that I comped in over my eyes. Again, it's not the best job and could definitely have been better, but animating it frame by frame was just a lot of work, and I wanted to get this out. So I'm sure you know, but this shot is just a shot of me throwing the hammer and just playing it back in reverse to make it look like it's coming to me. That's pretty simple. And then in the end, I get struck by lightning because I wasn't worthy or whatever the movie said. So this is the only finished project that I did and didn't release, and honestly, I don't really know why. It was just something that didn't really stand out in any special way, and it's just me on a green screen pretending to play with fire, and the elements were just added in after the fact. Also, the background is just an image that I found on Google. I wanted to showcase the particle system that we have and also change the color each time I snap my fingers. Also, the effect is subtle, but I also track the fire to match the position of my hand as well. The lighting and flare coming off of the flame interacts really well with all the other layers and actually lights them up too. So this is an element of filmmaking that people don't really notice, but it looks really weird if it isn't there. So this is a project that I really debated on whether or not I should put in this video, and I decided to do it because a lot of the stuff that I show is very finished and polished and it looks really good, and this is an example of not that. So what I wanted to do is I essentially wanted to make an older version of myself, and not just one of those apps that show you when you're older or whatever. I wanted to see if I can actually make it as a visual effect so I can move and I would still look the same way. Anyway, I went through the process and I looked up loads of tutorials on how to do it, and this is the end result. So, horrifying, right? I mean, it looks so unnerving, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. From this point on, I really started to focus on 3D animation, and this is the first real project that I produced. Anyway, I have footage of me making some of the assets here, and it was a really fun experience. The lighting and animation and even modeling are some fairly new concepts, and it was just an awesome learning experience. Something that I'm really proud of that no one is going to notice is right here. The attention to detail on the models looks so good and detailed, and no one is even going to see it because it's only visible for a few frames. So this is a 2-second clip that I comped together, and I'll be honest, the only thing that I animated by hand was the camera movement. The animation on the model is from Adobe's service called Mixamo, and this is a portion of one of the template animations, and the model is also from that service. The background is just a poorly shot Photoshop picture, and looking at it now, I wish I had spent more time making it look better. So the biggest workload of this project was the smoke elements. This is about 5 or 6 different elements stacked on top of each other, and without every single one of them in the clip, it wouldn't look as good. This kind of animation has a lot of potential, and I actually have a lot more planned for this project. Here's a small clip of what I started working on, but I realize I have a long way to go in order to make this look the way that I want it to. So the release of this project depends on how much I can improve my animation. Anyway, these are some of the projects that I produced, and it's been super fun doing them. I have a lot of other things that I made and I'm not going to show because, I'll be honest, they aren't good, and I'm pretty sure no one would ever even want to see them. If there's enough people that actually want to see them, maybe I can put them up, but it's really not likely. But there is a lot more that I have worked on, and I'm not allowed to show because they're for projects that haven't been published yet. But regardless, it's been super fun making these, and I hope to make even more in the future. And if you made it this far into this video, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.